want to go a minute early?
No, I don't think anybody's counting prices at Fields.
Okay, it's almost 6, and we'll begin our June 13th City Council meeting. Would you call the roll, please?
Briggs. Shivers.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes. First item is approval of minutes, which we cannot do. We don't have enough people that were here last time, so we'll pass on that till the next regular meeting. So item 4 is an ordinance, Bill number 2022-28, an ordinance amending the fee schedule for Charter 28 Parks and Recreation and Other Public Facilities, Article 2. Parks and Other Recreation Facilities, Section 28-26, Camping of the Mexico City Code. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. During the budget session last year, we discussed increasing camping fees, and this is now the ordinance to do so, to review the ordinance and what it's going to do. Chad Shoemaker.
Good evening. As Bruce said, this ordinance amends the fee schedule for Chapter 28 Parks and Recreation. As you'll recall, last year during the budgeting session, we talked at length about setting new fees for the campground, which fees hadn't been changed in better than 20 years. We took that information to the Park Board in August after we discussed it with the Park Board, or with the council during budgeting sessions, and then at their September meeting after we did surveys of regional campground fees and found out that we were very, 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 very low compared to everybody else in the region. They unanimously recommended that it be moved to $10 a day for residents and $20 per day for non-residents. So staff is not recommending an increase in tent camping at this time, and we recommend the council pursue 2 readings by title only and passage of the attached ordinance amending fee schedule of Chapter 28.
It's up to you guys.
Who collects their habit?
We have a camp host there currently, and then summertime, but there's always a self-pay box, and we go through and monitor that self-pay box when we don't have a camp host.
Make a motion to read bill number 2022-28.
Second.
Shivers.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Bill number 2022-28, an ordinance amending the fee schedule for Chapter 28 Parks, Recreation, and Other Public Facilities, Article 2 Parks and Other Recreational Facilities, Section 28-26 Camping of the Mexico City Code. I move for second reading by title only of Bill number 2022-28.
Second.
Shivers.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Bill number 2022-28, an ordinance amending the fee schedule for Chapter 28 Parks, Recreation, and Other Public Facilities, Article 2 Parks and Other Recreational Facilities, Sections 28-26, Camping of the Mexico City Code. I move for passage of Bill number 2022-28.
Second.
Shivers.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes. Next item is resolutions. Bill number 2022-29, a resolution accepting the proposal from Piper Sandler and Company for public sector financial advisory services to the City of Mexico and authorizing the city manager to sign a financial services agreement. Mr. Schlechter.
Yes, Your Honor. This is a financial advisory agreement with, to be renewed. We've looked at this before. This is when we issue debt, and as you know, we do not issue debt very often, but as part of the process, we have a financial advisor to advise us regarding when and the best market to do so, and to cover the resolution and the agreement and the bidding. Roger Haynes.
Good evening, Council. Through past enactments, the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, along with Rule G23, there is a requirement that anytime a city such as ourselves is involved in the issuance of municipal securities, borrowing funds in that way, we must make sure that the financial advisor is not also our bond underwriter. Our current financial advisory agreement will be expiring at the end of this month. Therefore, the City of Mexico advertised in the Mexico Ledger, on the city's website, and sent directly to 6 firms a request for qualifications for the Public Sector Financial Advisory Services Agreement. 3 responses were received, each proposal meeting criteria set forth in the scope of services. The 3 firms providing their qualifications was Piper Sandler and Company, Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors, and Hilltop Security. Each of those demonstrated within their respective statement of qualifications exceptional experience in providing financial advisory services matching the city's anticipated needs in the near future. The fee structure proposals presented by each firm were driven by bond size, type, and credit rating supporting the financial objective, and an overall pricing edge being delivered by Piper Sandler and Company. In review of each of the firm's responses, pricing and consideration was given to the city's past performance provided by Piper Sandler, and therefore we recommend re-entering into an agreement for a 3-year term beginning July 1 of this year with the option to renew 2 additional 1-year terms. Be glad to answer any questions.
Why are they so much cheaper than the other 2? I'm not complaining.
I think to some extent that they have seen the experience of our staff and Bruce's expertise in these type of issuances, that they know things are going to be pretty well lined up to begin with. And since we've dealt with them for over a decade now, I think they're very comfortable, and they kept the same pricing that they offered to us all the way back to, I think, 2011.
Great. It's just, there's considerably less, they're less than half of what the competition is, which is great. They work good for us. We love them.
All right, so I move for reading of bill number 2022-29.
Second.
Shivers.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Bill number 2022-29, a resolution accepting the proposal from Piper Sandler and Company for public sector financial advisory service to the City of Mexico and authorizing the city manager to sign a financial services agreement. I move for passage of bill number 2229.
Second.
Shivers.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes. B, bill number 2022-30, resolution authorizing the city manager to sign task order 2022-01 with Bartlett and West Incorporated for assistance with Missouri Department of Natural Resources, American Rescue Plan, and stormwater grants. Reading by title only, passage. Mr. Slade.
Yes, Your Honor. This resolution, as well as the next, kind of go together in that the city has an opportunity to receive some grant funds through the Department of Natural Resources because of the American Rescue Act. And there's an opportunity that we can do some projects here, and we'd like to take a look at those and to discuss this contract. Drew Williford, our interim public works director.
Good evening, council. If I may, I'll just combine this and the next one. As Bruce mentioned, they do relate to one another. The Department of Natural Resources has committed $410 million in the American Rescue Plan Act funds, and that is going towards several different categories. For us, we're most concerned with $125 million going towards wastewater and $150 million going towards stormwater. As part of the grant application process, we are looking at 2 items in particular, one of which is a resolution, in essence, of support, and that's the next one that you'll see on the docket. That resolution essentially lays out the council's support for proceeding with the grant and is a requirement of the grant process. If we do not have that resolution, the grant cannot proceed. The second part, because there is so much work involved with especially laying out the estimating side of things, you have to have an engineering assessment done or a wastewater plant facility plan, completed, which we do. We don't have the engineering assessment done for the stormwater side. So we're proposing in the first resolution before you right now to execute a task order with Bartlett and West to assist with putting together that stormwater side of the ARPA, or the American Rescue Plan Act funds. And that task order is developed, and I'm afraid I don't have it with me tonight. I didn't have it available. This was all put together very quickly on a fast timeline, but I do have a maximum not to exceed cost of $19,438 for the task order to assist with the stormwater side. Now keep in mind, this is not a planned project, so we are going to be pulling from a combination of line item savings out of the stormwater division and also general fund line item savings to cover the costs of that $19,000. The overall process we're looking at is essentially two-phased. So wastewater first, we're going to be looking at a grant, and we're proposing to move forward with a project that would essentially install a fine grit removal system in our wastewater treatment plant. That's valued at about $4.3 million. Now, we did increase the estimate because our facility plan is a few years old at this point to cover any increases that we've seen. That $4.3 million, we also have a secondary project just in case the estimate is high. We'll have a secondary project to fall back on to incorporate, and that is an enhancement to our sludge stabilization process. So between those two things, we're proposing to move forward at a 21% match. And that number comes from DNR scoring criteria. That's the highest level that you can move forward with and get the largest score for. So everything is tier-based in the application itself. So the city's portion of that would be $903,000. And that, we're looking at proposing two ways of saving for that. First, coming from our wastewater capital outlay reserves, approximately $500,000 from that. But then we're looking at decreasing our wastewater capital outlay budget or I should say saving about $150,000 for the next 3 years. And so we'll be doing less work for the next 3 years in contracted projects to hopefully save up for this grant. If that fails, if we don't get the grant, we will know that by mid-October of this year, at which point those funds begin. We look at what other projects we would have had without this funding opportunity. But we are moving forward at that higher match level to maximize our hope of getting this. It's a pretty large project, but it would help tremendously at the plant. The second item being stormwater, this one's a little atypical. So we're looking at this in great depth because we have a number of stormwater projects throughout the city. Traditionally, stormwater has been rather underfunded by the government, by the state and federal government levels. So what we have is $150 million that's going to be dispersed through DNR's ARPA program in this. We're proposing to move forward at a maximum of $2.5 million with that same 21% match, which comes to a city total of $525,000. And we're looking at that from the same standpoint of scoring. That's going to get us the highest score and make us the most competitive for that grant. The other interesting part of the stormwater aspect, which is not true for wastewater, is they're letting you apply for more than one grant and awarding potentially more than one to a community. With that in mind, we're proposing a second grant, which would be at least a minimum of $2 million and a local match of $1 to move forward. So we have, in essence, if it turns out that the program is very competitive, we put forth our best foot to try to get $2.5 million of stormwater improvements. If it turns out that there's, because it's $150 and it's limited to participating communities in the state MS Thor system, we have the potential of getting a second grant at a dollar match. So for covering those funds, for covering the local match, we would be looking at using the city's own American Rescue Plan Act funding, the ARPA funds we have. So looking at those two together, we're recommending proceeding with reading and title only of the attached resolution for signing a task order with Bartlett and West, the task order being 2022-01. And then further, by recommending we proceed by reading title only of the resolution authorizing filing multiple applications with DNR for their ARPA grant funding for both stormwater and wastewater projects. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So you've got plans for the stormwater already. This is for the wastewater.
One for wastewater, two for storm, right?
Right.
One for wastewater, two for storm. We have the plan.
This is for wastewater, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, the one you're looking at.
Yeah.
The one you're looking at is actually for stormwater.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there'll
My
be,
apologies.
I saw that the application has to be in by the 11th?
By the 14th.
14th, okay, 14th. But they've got enough time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of this came together very fast. A lot of these grants seem to be coming out very quickly with very little time to get a grant application in. A lot of cities only have a council meeting, maybe one every month, I think, in some cases. So it's a pretty quick turnaround for many cities.
So some cities may not even get in the mix, but with these projects that we knew was on our horizon, now is our best chance to do them with somebody else's money.
And we have a number of projects that are on the list, just to give you a quick feel for it. We had culverts collapse on the access road that we used to get to Teal Lake Dam and spillway, so we're looking at trying to get that funded. We tried to pursue funding through FEMA for that at first, and then we're not successful. So we're hoping this would be included. And then there's several locations throughout town we're looking at for curb and gutter improvements. And the wonderful thing about the stormwater funds is that you can also include an overlay with that. If you're improving stormwater, you can add a new surface to the road.
Town branch too, right? Possibly town branch.
Possibly town branch in the second phase of the stormwater, if we were to get that second grant. The 2.5 million is going to be fairly competitive. When I was looking at some of the initial numbers, 2.5 million goes very quick these days. So that second grant, if we were to get it, we're looking at other projects, which could include improvements to the town branch, because I know we do get concerns about that fairly frequently. So.
Thank you.
I move for reading of bill number 2022-30.
Second.
Shivers,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Bill number 2022-30, resolution authorizing the city manager to sign task order 2022-01 with Bartlett and West Incorporated for assistance with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources American Rescue Plan Act Stormwater Grant. I move for passage of bill number 2022-30.
Second.
Shivers,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
I guess we can just go ahead and do this one, right? I move for reading of bill number 2022-31.
Second.
Shivers,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Bill number 2022-31, a resolution auzing the filing of an application with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources Financial Assistance Center State ARPA grant programs for subaward of federal financial assistance provided to the state of Missouri by the U.S. Department of the Treasury pursuant to Section 602B of the Social Security Act as added by Section 9901 of the American Rescue Plan Act, publication L number 1172, March 11, 2021, 135. Is that statute 4, 223 to 226?
Second.
Well, you didn't ask for passing. You didn't do it.
Oh, I move for passage of bill number 2022-31.
Second.
You seconded for the passage.
Shivers,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes. Okay. Bill number 2022-32, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute agreements with various organizations for recommended funding from the Mexico tourism tax. Mr. Slade.
Yes, Your Honor, the Tourism Commission has met and reviewed applications and has recommendations for funding, and to cover those recommendations, Roger Haynes.
Mexico Tourism Commission met via Zoom last Tuesday on June 7th, and as part of that meeting, they reviewed 2 requests for funding. The first request was from the Audrain County 4-H Youth Fair. That is for a youth fair family day that is to be held on Sunday afternoon, July 17th at the 4-H Fairgrounds. The request made was for $7,700. The amount recommended was $500. The $7,700 included like $5,000 to actually pay for the singer that was going to be at the 4-H Fairgrounds that day, with the remainder being for advertising. The commission also looked at those advertising requests and requested information about last year's event. And last year's event, they had somewhere between 200 and 300 attend. And based on all of that information, that's why they came up with their recommendation of $500 for this year. The Mexico Area Chamber of Commerce, their event is actually the Eat, Shop, Play Mexico app that kicked off a year ago, and it is up for renewal to continue to use that app, and the amount requested is $5,000, and the amount recommended to be funded is $5,000. Staff recommends that council concur with the Mexico Tourism Commission's recommendation and proceed with reading by title only and passage of the attached resolution. Would you like to answer any questions?
Why the huge increase in the app? That's huge, because last year it was like $1,500.
It was 5,000. It was 5,000. Yep.
I thought it was.
No,
It was fine.
5,000.
Did they get numbers on who's using it, how many people, all that?
I don't have an exact number for you, but it does continue to grow. And one of the recommendations by the commission at this last meeting is to see if when we, in other events that we provide funding for advertising, if we could also add in that, let's say it's an event that's going to be a newspaper, that it has the QR code, so people have additional opportunity to download it and see all the events on a more timely basis. And of course, it covers more than just tourist type events too. It gives some economic development benefits too.
Just noticed they had the wrong president of the Mexico Chamber listed. So I move forward. Reading bill number 2022-32.
Second.
Shivers,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bill number 2022-32, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute agreements with various organizations for recommended funding from the Mexico tourism tax. I move for passage.
Second.
Shivers,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes. Next item, other business, staff report accepting bids for materials for in-house construction of a storage structure at the maintenance facility for the Parks Maintenance Department. Mr. Schlegel.
Yes, sir. This was a budgeted item to construct this additional lean-to for storage at the maintenance facility, and we've taken bids for the materials to cover the bids. Chad Schimick.
This is the first of 2 parts of bids for this particular project. When we got to bidding these materials, found out very quickly that the people that supplied the roofing metal and some of the other pieces weren't the same people that could bid on the lumber, and so we broke it apart. Some people will be on both lists, but some people will only be on one or the other. So that advertisement bid was placed in the Mexico Ledger. We mailed out to 6 vendors. Bids were opened on June 7th. We had 2 bids, one from Lacrosse Lumber of Mexico, Missouri, who submitted the best and the lowest bid for lumber materials for a 128-foot by 26-foot lean-to storage structure that will be constructed by the Parks Maintenance Department to store the fleet of trucks and equipment that we've spent taxpayer dollars on in the last few years. Our annual budget allows $24,500. Again, the remainder of that money will be spent on metal and fasteners and some other items. This will include all the lumber, all the trusses that we need to build this particular piece of structure. Staff recommends that council approve the purchase of materials from Lacrosse Lumber of Mexico, Missouri for a bid amount of $13,671.78.
I move that we accept the bid for materials for the in-house construction and storage structure for the maintenance facility, Parks and Maintenance Department, from Lacrosse Lumber for $13,671.78.
Second.
Shivers,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Yes. Next item is the payment of the claims.
Make a motion to pay the bills?
Second.
Shivers,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes. Next item are comments from the council. Begin with you, Mr. Hague.
Heard Mr. Pilger's interview with the Fulton Chief of Police and kind of started thinking about, I guess, the budget that probably will be coming at the end of the summer. I started looking at what we pay public safety, and I think he said they started out down there at $44,000, which is above what we starting pay at. And it started concerning me because I know that they're short-staffed. I believe we're still short-staffed. I don't know how many. Did we have a couple others leave? How many are we down? Probably. And so. And also, I think Fulton does not do fire, and they don't do first responders as they are public safety. So they are just truly police. And I know that we need to probably look at everybody within our city staff structure, because I think as we start to compete, I think that's the first thing that we have to look at, because no matter if it's public safety or some other job, if Fulton's paying $44,000 and I'm getting $32 here and I'm fresh out of the academy, where do I want to go? And I think we do a great job with our public safety. I think that hurts if we're down 4 or 5 men or women that do that job. And so as I listen to that interview, and I think it's something that we probably ought to dig into on looking at what others do. We got a kind of a picture of what Fulton does, what Centralia do, what are those do, how do we become competitive, how do we recruit those people here so that we can keep the job that they do going, and they do a phenomenal job, and then kind of look at the others. And I know that there's probably a lot of hard decisions that have to be made to make a jump like that, but I think it's a discussion that we're going to have within that budget session. And if the people want to continue to have and feel safe in Mexico, have to take an honest look at, we're going to have to step it up, both as a council and as the city, as a constituent, as a member of the city, as a citizen, just making sure that those people are taken care of, and that we are feel safe, and that we are competitive with other cities as people come out and want to seek out jobs, and as they graduate the academy or anywhere else. So that's really all I have. Stay cool, drink your water. It's a hot one out there.
Mayor, if I could just add to his point while we're on it. We brought things up in March, or we tried to, and we tried to meet to comparables then, and we did, or come close. And it is interesting how many since then have then jumped again because of the same issues you just said.
Absolutely.
And whether it was Audrain County Sheriff Department, Jeff City, Fulton, you can go again and again and again, and they've all done the same thing, taking that additional jump. So every time we take the jump to try to come, they go again. And that's just the market we're in, as you said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you're absolutely right. We've already started looking at that for the upcoming budget, because we knew going in, it's going to be another hard issue.
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Williams?
I'll say hallelujah to that. I'd echo the fact that our officers do 2 jobs. A lot of these places pay an additional 10, 15, 20 people all together to do fire, and we don't do that. And I would also add, with the situation with the hospital, it makes that first responder job a little bit more important in our community right now. So I know it's tough, and I know it's going to require some tough decisions, and everybody's not going to be able to be along the same road, but I think with them, it's a have-to situation going forward. I will say I've seen the new truck, haven't bought it by my place yet. I see it everywhere else, but I'll just say, it looks very nice. And then lastly, I will shoot my son's horn. Congratulations to Mexico's Academic Bowl, top 50 in the country, and my son was the highest scoring freshman in PACE history. So,
Awesome.
Great.
and that's all I have.
I saw that we actually became number 47. I said we were number 47, so that's awesome. And 3 of them are freshmen, so we're looking forward to a great nationally ranked team in Mexico. A lot of time academics doesn't get the shout out as our regular
That's true.
athletics. So I was super excited when I saw that. Reminder, we have a lot of stuff coming up this week. So you get a lot to choose from in Mexico. You have the Miss Missouri pageant. So we've already seen the ladies are already on campus of MMA. We also have a 3-day Juneteenth celebration. So if you're not at Miss Missouri, or during the day before you go to Miss Missouri, you can see we'll be having our own Garfield, I like to call it Garfield Drill Team 3.0, I think, 2.0, 3.0. A new generation, Garfield Drill Team New Generation, will be performing on Friday night starting at 6. They'll be joined by a dancer from Columbia as well as the Missouri High Steppers. They're supposed to be bringing about 60 people from their drill team and drumline here, young teenagers. So it's always great when our youth are there. Have a health fair when everyone's downtown with Miss Missouri going on at Thailand, part of Juneteenth, and they'll be back at Garfield doing, hope it's not too hot for the basketball tournament and stuff. And then you can join us with worship at Mexico Methodist. We have a community choir singing at their 10:30 service. So lots of stuff going on. And I agree with what everyone said about public safety. I believe we had said that even when we made the jump last time, that we thought that we needed to do more. I was just talking to their city administrator about what they paid theirs. And so
Is there a Facebook page for June 13th or anything?
it's been posted on Facebook. It's
Okay.
everything.
All right.
Mr. Slagle.
I was just going to mention that the new truck is out, if you'd like to take a look at it when you're done with the meeting. It's out on the apron.
Well, I've been looking at the new truck, but they won't let me take it for a ride, so I'm getting disheartened.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be wise. I mean, I know you can drive it, trust me, but, it would look bad if you and I heard, Councilman Hague say he wanted to drive too. That would
I
not
think
be
you have to
great
get
news.
relicensed after 70, don't you?
Smart aleck.
Hey, but that would not be good. I'd hate for Matt to have to do a story about new $1.3 million truck crashed by mayor and council people. That would not be good.
You said you had an air brake certificate. It must be coming out of your mouth. You've covered it all. Miss Missouri pageant to Juneteenth. How do you say that?
Juneteenth.
Celebration. I think Friday night is going to be kind of interesting to go to with all the singing, dancing, and drumline, all the things that are happening then. And it's hot. It's real hot.
That's why you stay inside the AC.
Is this air conditioned? Juneteenth. Next item be public comments. If anybody from the public would like to make a comment, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and try to hold your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Shivers,
Yes.
Egan,
Yes.
Hague,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.